Hundreds of thousands of Americans turned out yesterday to protest government spending at tax day tea parties. But according to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the protests are coming from wealthy Americans and not America's needy.
This initiative is funded by the high end. We call it AstroTurf. It's not really a grassroots movement. It's AstroTurf by some of the wealthiest people of America to keep the focus on tax cuts for the rich instead of for the great middle class.
Really? So were the tea parties really hosted by the greedy, or is this Speaker Pelosi just out of touch? Joining us now is Fox News contributor and conservative blogger Michelle Malkin. Michelle, what about it? Was it it's characterized by some as the rich white people there, or was it a more general demographic? Give us an idea.
Well, as usual, Nancy Pelosi had no idea what she was talking about. She was simply parroting the line from a lot of left-wing blogs and left-wing propaganda outfits that are projecting, okay? They're the ones that are funded by the George Soros billionaires of the world. And I think that they've been completely taken by surprise that there are, in fact, hundreds of thousands of people out there that are mad, not just at the big spending Democrats, but at the big spending Republicans as well. And anyone who really paid attention yesterday heard that. I was in Sacramento, and there were people there who were protesting. No, not just Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer and President Obama, but we're going after the California GOP establishment for not doing enough to fight big taxes.
Yeah, and right now, Michelle, we're going to take a look at some of the pictures from your website, michellemalkin.com, because you were one of the organizers of one of the events, and so you got a lot of really great pictures. And I understand you told me during the break we're close to 250,000. You were close to 250,000 people that you know of who showed up. But real briefly, Michelle, I want to talk about this, and that is the mainstream media bias. You would think that if hundreds of thousands of people showed up at close to 1,000 rallies across the country, the New York Times would certainly be involved in covering it. Here you've got our new Archbishop on the front page, but down below, thank goodness, they do cover, look at this, a rally in Afghanistan. Not a word about the tea parties from the New York Times.
Yes, this is why I lent my help. I was in no way a quote-unquote organizer in the way that grassroots internet leaders, people like top conservatives on Twitter, the Don't Go movement, Smart Girl Politics were. All I did was simply be a conduit and report the news that the rest of the mainstream media did not want to report. And it's absolutely true that if this was 225,000 left-wingers who were protesting the war or immigration policy, it would be dubbed the Million Fill-in-the-Blank March. And so the joke has been going around among people who participated yesterday that this was the Million Tax Revolt March.
Michelle, weigh in a little bit on the, you must have seen it, the CNN anchor on camera taking the camera away from, her subject and taking a shot at Fox.
Well, there's no better proof of the media's bias. They were completely busted yesterday in how condescending and combative they were. Can you imagine if a Fox reporter went up to an anti-war protester and said, "That's offensive, that's offensive"? And the double standards here were completely striking. On my website today, I've posted a comparison of this one CNN reporter who went after someone for calling Obama a fascist. The same reporter had no problem with comparing Bush to Hitler.
Michelle, for the people who didn't see it, and because CNN has got a fractional audience anyway, most people across the country did not, here she is, Susan Rosen.
Okay, let's see, you're here with your 2-year-old, and you're already in debt. Why are you here today, sir?
Because I hear a president say that he believed in what Lincoln stood for. Lincoln's primary thing was he believed that people had the right to liberty and they had the right...
Sir, what does this have to do with taxes? What does this have to do with your taxes? Do you realize that you're eligible for a $400 credit?
Finish my point.
I think you get the general tenor of this. It's anti-government, anti-CNN, since this is highly promoted by the right-wing conservative network Fox.
Crazy. All right. So check out michellemalkin.com for her side-by-side comparison. Always a pleasure. Good job yesterday, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.